What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Big Dave here on another episode of Bizarcast, the official podcast of the Bizarchives, weird tales of monsters, magic, and machines. At halftime, we're gonna play some more promos. We got some great books coming your guys' way, but we gotta sell, man. We gotta get rid of some of this stock that's in here. We're getting ready to upgrade. We're gonna do all of our own fulfillment, all of our own shipping. We're gonna be doing all the stuff coming. We're gonna detach from Amazon. It's coming soon, but in order to do that, we need your guys' money. We need the Bizarre Kangs to come out in force and help us out in our big transformation as we continue to take over and steal back away from the clutches of the vampires and the ghouls and the toads and the shambling homunculi, scumbag weirdos that have taken over our beloved publishing institutions. We are here to take our beloved art form of fantasy, science fiction, cosmic horror, supernatural horror, pulp fiction. We're here to take pulp fiction back from their writhing, disgusting, foul clutches once and for all. This is a jihad. So help us with our jihad as we stomp. We are the barbarians at the gates. Help us break through and take it back by force. If you want to buy our books, make sure to go over to thebizarchives.com and pick up so many great books over there. We have The Molybdus Articulate. We have Sacred Times Part 1. We have the Cosmic Horror Double Feature, Man in the 25th Century. We have The Willows, Bizarchives 1, 2, and 3. And now, starting, 4 days ago, we added the Shanghai Horror from our buddy Arbogast. But, so that's everything. Mr. Shane, how we doing tonight, sir?
Doing spectacular. And yourself?
I'm doing good. Mr. Shane is back again. He's going to be with us indefinitely. Folks love Mr. Shane's performance, and he's been killing it. So we're going to keep bringing him back. We're going to keep going. This is going to be the Bizarchives, Bizarcast duo for the foreseeable future. So hail everybody in the chat. Hail Nils, hail BS, hail Ryan, hail Guy from V, hail Roger, hail all you guys, man. So let's get started. Tonight we are going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about, so you guys saw the title. We're going to talk about all that stuff. But firstly, we wanted to talk about a movie that came out. Let me bring up the stats here on this movie. We're going to talk about the series of movie, which were they were called the Riddick movies, and Vin Diesel was in them. Mr. Shane, how did you like these movies, right?
Yes, I'm a fan of the Riddick series.
So, which one is your favorite one?
Pitch Black by far.
The first one, right?
Yeah, of course.
First one. Yeah, as I thought. Pitch Black came out in the year 2000. And by the way, guys in chat, let us know if our levels are weird at all. We're still monkeying with some of the equipment. We got to upgrade equipment. I'm wearing like a busted pair of headphones. My headphones are like old enough to buy beer. They don't work in the one side. They're like getting all, yeah, they're starting to like peel and stuff like that. So, yeah. So, our equipment's not great. So if there's anything wrong, if he's too loud, I'm too loud, please let us know in the chat. If we're too quiet, let us know in the chat so we can adjust. So I can adjust here on my end. So anyway, Chronicles of Riddick. These were movies. The first one came out in 2000 in double aught, right? And then they came out with a couple others, I believe. There was the Chronicles of Riddick movie. Was there? I believe there was a third one.
There's Pitch Black, Riddick, the Chronicles of Riddick, and then an animated one, I believe.
Okay. So, yeah, so I'm seeing that there. Yeah. This is saying Into Pitch Black. I guess that's a different movie. But, yeah, so these movies, I saw them. Yeah, I saw Pitch Black right when it came out. I believe when was that? I was in 9th grade, I believe. And I believe that I saw it in theaters with a girlfriend that I had at that time.
I didn't even realize it was in theaters.
I think it was in theaters. I'm pretty positive. Maybe it was one of the other Riddick. I definitely saw one of the Riddick ones, and I saw everybody hates on this movie, but I kind of like it. Triple X.
I know. You tell me that every time we bring up this franchise, you have to mention Triple X.
Dude, Triple X is pretty good. The only reason I bring it up is because everybody hates it.
It's a terrible movie.
Why is it terrible?
Definitively, it's just. You know what? Maybe it's just not my kind of movie. I'll put it out there that. To the right audience, it could be an enjoyable.
It's a retarded movie. It's not. It's not a good movie.
Yeah.
So let's get back to Pitch Black. Pitch Black, if you haven't seen it, which you guys probably have, but if you know, you haven't if you've been living in a cave and you haven't seen it, it is about a guy named Riddick who is a prisoner. It is in the far future or something like that. He's on this cargo vessel. It crashes. He escapes. He has augmentation on his eyeballs that give him like sort of like night vision sort of stuff. And he wears these glasses. And he's with this group of guys or people, and they're trying to survive on this planet where there's these aliens that are nocturnal, but they're like, they breed like crazy. They're these like giant alienoid insects, and they just like smell blood and they eat people.
Yeah, I think the planet they're on has like 3 suns or something like that, and they happen to land on this planet during the like anomaly where it goes into complete darkness for a period of time, and these nocturnal, I believe they're called bioraptors, these creatures, these weird hammerhead nocturnal carnivorous creatures emerge from their caves below ground and just feast.
Yeah. You know, actually, I in preparation for this episode, I was intending to watch the entire Riddick series, but unfortunately I only had time to watch Pitch Black. But I'll tell you what, I watched Pitch Black, and that was actually a pretty darn good movie.
Yeah, for the time it was made, I mean early 2000s, the cast it's working with. Now, I'm not like shitting on Vin Diesel. I like Vin Diesel, but I think Pitch Black, playing Riddick is my favorite role that he's in. Otherwise, he's kind of a retard.
Yeah. he's not great. He's not great.
No. But it's a phenomenal sci-fi movie. And you watch the movie and Vin Diesel's performance as Riddick, you know, I can see why you enjoy the movie, because he has like sci-fi Conan vibes.
Yeah, he's like total big tough guy. All the conversations are one-sided. He's like slick with everything, outsmarts everybody. He's just like a boss.
He's a complete psychopath.
Yeah. And one thing I like about Riddick is he's not a Mary Sue.
No.
I love that.
Yeah.
There's that one part at the end, if you remember, where he's about to, like, he gets to the getaway ship first, and he's about to bounce.
Yeah.
And leave everybody.
Leave them all behind.
Yeah. And he's like, and then the girl who like had to become captain, who was like a lousy captain, right?
Yeah.
He's like, she's like, you can't leave, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, no, come with me. You know, me and you. You know, he's like gonna, you know he's gonna do.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I can't. And he, he pounces her, and he's like, I'm gonna kill her. And he's like, you tell me, are you willing to die for these scumbags? And she goes, yeah. He goes, all right, I'll help you. And then they go save the people, and like, that dumb bitch ends up dying anyway.
Yeah, he looks out for number one, and then instead of dipping, he chooses glory.
Yeah. So I actually think, going back and watching Pitch Black as opposed to a lot of the science fiction that comes out now, a lot of the science fiction that people like. What was that one movie that came out recently? Jupiter Ascending. I don't know if you saw that.
Idea, no.
A lot of these sci-fi movies that come out now are these like, they're like, I feel that like the Star Wars prequels kind of broke sci-fi from the 2001 on. Everything is trying to have this like grand, like galactic political vibe to it. And
it's almost like they're trying to turn sci-fi into an epic.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. They want to, like, everybody wants to recreate Star Wars, everybody wants to recreate Dune. And we don't get a whole lot of pulpy, let's be honest, pulpy sci-fi adventures,
right,
which is what Pitch Black was.
Yeah. Yeah, it was it came out before shit went downhill. Did you know that Vin Diesel actually owns the rights to the Riddick franchise? He got the rights from Universal Studios in lieu of payment for the cameo he made in Tokyo Drift.
Really?
Yeah, because he loved the franchise so much. He was already such a big part of it. He wanted to make it his own and, you know, make sure no one fucked it over. So he asked for the rights instead of being paid, and they gave it to him.
What a G.
Yeah.
That's based. Dang, that's cool. Yeah, I can respect that. That's cool. So he wanted his hands on the IP.
Yeah, because you know, he's been in a lot of movies, but Riddick is kind of his child, you know. That's his thing.
He is Riddick.
Yeah, he is Riddick. He wanted to protect it, and I respect that.
It's like how Arnold is Terminator.
Yeah, exactly.
Except for, you know, Vin Diesel and Riddick is a far more, you know, intense situation. Because Arnold's been, you know, hundreds of things.
Oh yeah. It's far more precious to Vin Diesel than it would be to Arnold.
What else was Vin Diesel really? You had a few
the Fast and the Furious. That's like it. And of course, your favorite, Triple X.
Yeah, I like Triple X. Not my favorite, but I will stand up and say Triple X isn't as bad as people remember it.
I'm trying to think of something else that Vin Diesel's been in.
I think he was in some weird kid movie.
Was he?
Yeah. He did he followed like the Arnold path and did like a not like a necessarily Jingle All the Way, or what was that? What was the other movie Arnold did that was like kind of a kid movie?
The Twins one? Is that the one you're talking about?
Twins. You got I don't know. I don't like any of the
Arnold. Last Action Hero. That was one I actually liked. That was a movie I watched a lot when I was a kid.
That was okay.
Yeah,
that was okay. But you know, I don't like Twins. I think Kindergarten Cop sucks.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy any of those.
When I want Arnold, I want to watch Eraser. I want Terminator. I want
Conan.
Oh yeah,
obviously. Eraser was a really good movie. That was a weird movie.
Eraser was incredible.
Total Recall.
Oh, of course. Yeah, Total Recall. He did that The Sixth Day.
The Sixth Day, yeah, that was a weird movie.
Remember End of Days where Arnold fought Satan?
Yeah. If anyone could. Get Arnold on the line.
He fought Satan. Yeah, so anyway, Shades of Dominion said he also did a Witcher knockoff called The Witch Hunter. I think I saw that.
Oh,
I think I saw that.
I think I saw previews for that.
I think I saw it.
I wonder how it did.
No, I'm thinking Nicolas Cage did Season of the Witch.
Yeah, I do know what that one is, but I think I've seen previews for what he's talking about too.
I actually liked Season of the Witch.
Season of the Witch wasn't bad. It was like far enough removed from The Witcher to be its own thing.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. So there's another Shades of Dominion says the Riddick, I guess it was Riddick, or maybe it was Witch Hunter. He said it was dedicated to his D&D games.
No shit.
Yeah.
I didn't even know he played D&D.
Yeah, Vin Diesel is a big advocate of D&D because during his time in college, I guess when he was going like acting school, or I don't know what he was doing. There was a time where he was young and he was like working a lot and whatever, and his favorite pastime was sitting down with his buddies and playing D&D.
Vin Diesel's one of the boys.
I guess.
Based.
Yeah. Ryan says he never saw Triple X, but heard it was terrible. Sorry, Dave. Can't tell a lie. It was terrible, but I kind of liked it. I don't know. Maybe it is terrible and I don't actually like it. And I just am such a contrarian jerk off that I hear.
It was Triple X was like an amalgamation of the Fast and the Furious and James Bond. It was just like a NOS-fueled, testosterone-driven, hyper-masculine, like, car action movie.
I don't know where this is supposed to sound terrible.
I can't argue with that. Maybe I'm just really good at describing things. I shot myself in the dick.
So anyway, so Pitch Black. I went back and rewatched it, and it's kind of a movie that isn't far enough back that it gets nostalgia, but it's also not so recent that it's kind of like in our recent memory. It's
Right.
kinda in that weird gray area. So a lot of people overlook it, right?
Yeah.
But this was a movie that like people really liked it.
Yeah, when it came out, people loved it.
Yeah, it was like it did a really good job of doing this kind of excuse me, sci-fi action horror all blended together as it should be.
In its own unique style, though, as well. It didn't try to mimic the sci-fi horror of like the Aliens franchise. It took it and spun it to make it its own thing. And what I really enjoyed about the Riddick movies is the story, first of all, of Pitch Black it has a great plot. It's simple but complex enough to keep you entertained. It has action, it has horror, it has sci-fi elements, all those things that all of us sci-fi guys love. But it also lent itself well to not sequels but the other movies, because the other movies aren't necessarily sequels or prequels. They're just other stories that include Riddick in them.
The Riddick universe, yeah.
And Riddick himself is such a complex character saturated in lore that what is divulged about him isn't much because of his mysterious and secretive nature, but it's enough to like keep you coming back for more.
Riddick is a very pulpy character. He is a flat arc character.
Yes.
Every movie is just like one single adventure, right? He is Conan. He is Solomon Kane. He is Doc Savage. He is all these guys. He's Shadow.
He is very much like Lex.
You think he's like Lex?
In that regards, yes.
With
like, you know, you jump in his story, you follow him for an adventure, you get to watch as he performs all of his badassery and dominate and conquer and then move on to the next.
And yeah, I guess because in all of his movies, it doesn't really give this big exposition. It kind of gives Easter eggs to like who the Riddick character is.
Yeah, little snippets, you know, from his eyes to his time spent on crematoria in that triple max prison and his escape. It's just like little, like, I don't think at any point it mentions what his convictions are. I could be completely wrong about that. But it's just like little breadcrumbs dropped, little dots for you to connect along the way of watching each of these movies to get a better and more comprehensive picture of who this character is as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah. Shades of Dominion says simplicity demands mystery, which is what drives the fans to fill in their own blanks and love what they enjoy. Yeah.
Very accurate.
Oh, man.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, you're that's speaking the truth right now. We're on your side with that one. I love that. I hate too much exposition. I hate in modern sci-fi literature, and honestly, and this is why you guys should go pick up, if you like fantasy, you should go pick up the Sacred Times Part 1, because Sacred Times does not do this at all. This like bloated exposition-y kind of prose that like forces like setting info drops.
Yeah.
Like in the year, you know, it's like in the year 3320 on the planet of Randar, the so-and-so fucking conglomerate was at war with this, but until this planet was destroyed and and it's like an info dump and then none of it actually moves the story. It's just a fucking exposition.
Especially if it's all dumped at the beginning. I'd much rather like just be thrown into a story and then be given pieces along the way.
Exactly. Show don't tell. That's right. Show don't tell. So yeah, so you guys out there that are kind of like hungry for a sci-fi movie, a sci-fi action movie like this,
hungry.
If you haven't seen Pitch Black, some of the special effects didn't age very well. Some of them look a little bit campy now.
Well, I mean, it was made in 2000.
It was made in 2000. It was made 22 years ago, guys. Can you believe that?
Jesus Christ.
22 years ago, 2000. But yeah, so it was made over 2 decades ago. So this is a dated movie, you know?
Yeah, by now it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a dated. So there's a couple scenes. It's not terrible, But this is very early CGI.
Yeah.
It's not practical effects. It's very early CGI. And back then, I remember seeing this, and it was like,
yeah, for the time it was made when it came out, it was awesome.
yeah. But some of it looks a little hokey now, but it's okay because it looks good enough. And the parts, and they do mix in some. There's some parts where like the monsters fall and there's blood everywhere, and it's actually they made a prop, right?
I thought you were gonna say it's actually blood.
They're
They're just dropping like pig carcasses from 40 feet.
There's human carcasses.
Just bloated human cadavers. It's just swollen and explode on impact.
Well, I mean, it's Hollywood. There's probably a place you can buy them there.
We gotta get in touch.
I gotta give them a call. Yeah. Yeah. They could become like our patron or something like that. Yeah. If you want 20% off for your next bloated corpse purchase, make sure you put in Bizarcast.
I thought you were suggesting that we get a bloated corpse as like a mascot.
No. I don't
We
know.
like jiggle its vocal cords to release some of the gas.
What'd you say, bro?
We use them as like a pinata for kids' parties.
Just like farts out of its esophagus. Mommy, candy fell out. That's not candy.
Don't touch it. Everyone gets AIDS.
Yeah, it is California. You know?
Yeah, we're getting them California bodies.
I wish they all could be California. Oh, man. Dill said 2000s had some of my favorite corny effects. I could see this becoming a conscious style in the future. But I'll tell you what. As far as video games go, there's now a huge explosion of that, like, kind of early computer, low poly first-person shooter, these retro first-person shooters. Do you remember games like, not necessarily Doom, because that wasn't 3D, but like Unreal Tournament or Quake?
Yeah.
Do you remember those games?
Yeah, of course.
That style of graphics is coming back in a big way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, well, guys like us, that's what we like. That it sends us back.
Yeah. Big time. And also it's good for the developers because these low poly graphics are cheaper to make. They run better on people's computers. They're just like, and also it has an aesthetic value. It looks good. I don't think it's a nostalgia thing. I think that style of game is here to stay.
It is. We went through this phase where people were overcomplicating things unnecessarily. And, sometimes simple is just better. Those games that we grew up with, they hold a special place in our hearts. We're familiar with them, and even the new generations love them. They're easy to pick up and play and just get lost in for a few hours.
Yeah. We should do a whole episode talking about video. I have so much to talk about with video games.
We can do that.
Yeah, we should set aside a whole episode talking about video game. Why retro video games are just objectively better. They're just better video games.
They really are.
They really are. They I just don't, once in a while there's some indies that come out that are good. And I'm not saying there's no good video games that come out now. Obviously there are, but maybe it's just, and it's not even just nostalgia stuff. I just think that objectively these games were better. You know what I mean?
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
90% of the games that are released nowadays are garbage, overpriced, and they're just shitty. They have too many problems. They're not compelling or gripping. They don't hold my attention. They're ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, we could get into all that kind of stuff, but we have something else we wanted to talk about today, and we wanted to kind of get into some of the, so when we talk about supernatural literature, when we talk about horror literature, horror pulps, we are talking about a genre that is very heavily influenced. For example, our boy Lovecraft, he was a big fan of, he didn't like it. He thought it was fugazi, but he was like intrigued as far as influence for his stories by things like the occult
Right.
and like weird like magic and cults themselves and mystery schools and this kind of stuff like intrigued him. It was he like in his letters he said he believed there's nothing but parlor tricks.
And also this was like the time period where that was kind of sweeping the nation. You had people holding like weird seances and doing all this weird secretive underground stuff with their little tight circle of friends trying to contact the dead.
Yeah, crystal balls and all that.
Yeah.
This was there's so much like hokey, goofy, weird, fake, like magic stuff that comes out of the Victorian era.
Yes.
So many forgeries too.
Yeah. A lot of charlatans, a lot of chiselers out there.
Yeah. Like there's like about scrying crystal balls. There's tons of like manuals on how to do that. This is about the time that things like Theosophy comes out with Helena Blavatsky and all this kind of like we was aliens mixed with like
It was gang.
It was a we wases. It was like this like hokey made up version of Earth, like alternative. It's literally ancient aliens. Like it's like ancient aliens with extra steps.
Yeah.
Plus like hippy dippy neoliberal like
bullshit.
Yeah, not even neo, like proto liberal. Like what is the saying for the Theosophy Society? It's like, put our dicks together and make one
big dick.
Yeah.
Dock together as one.
Dog dick. Talk together as one. We are the children. Yeah. So, so this was like everywhere back then. So pulp writers, couldn't help but like be interested in this. Some of them were like actually into it. Most of them, like Lovecraft, used it for his stories.
Yeah.
In addition to that, obviously, and this is why pulp has such a strong lineage going back to the times of antiquity and the oral traditions of yesteryear, yester century, is because pulp has always had an interest in cryptids,
right.
the creature feature, which has been there since the beginning of time, had pulps throughout the late 1800s into the 1900s, going into later. And then what was like some of the first moving pictures ever made? Horror movies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You had adventure stuff with pirates and buccaneers and cowboys. And then you had creature features. Creatures from the Black Lagoon.
Nosferatu.
Yeah. Hell yeah. The Shadow of the Vampire.
Yeah.
Vampires and all this kind of stuff was hugely influential on pulp. And we like it too. I love this shit.
Oh yeah.
I love this shit.
It's incredible stuff. Obviously, it's stood the test of thousands and thousands of years. These are some of the first, like the origins of horror stories.
Yeah.
These are the stories that were whispered among dark and ancient forests that instilled fear in entire groups of ancient peoples that still survive today and have grown into true legends.
Yeah, exactly. And I've made this argument many times that pulp is the continuation of the ancient storytelling tradition.
Absolutely.
Not just in its prose with its poeticism. Not all of it is poetic. Some of it, most of it isn't poetic, right?
Right.
But it's all sensational. It's all epic, and it all has this kind of like
grandiosity to it. A grand expulsion.
Yeah, and it's just like it's seeping.
It's just separating.
Shane likes to learn weird words.
It's not a weird word.
That is a weird word. Suppurating.
Yeah, like an infection will weep. It's called suppurating.
Why would you know that word?
I mean, how else am I going to describe someone else's weeping infection?
One time,
Nice stinky fluids. You should get that looked at.
Yeah. Perambulating. You remember that one?
Perambulate, yeah. He perambulates bonelessly.
Yeah. Perambulation means to walk.
Yeah, more or less, essentially.
It just means
It's
to
just
walk.
a really fancy fucking word for walkabout.
Yeah, to perambulate. So, case closed. Shane learns weird words. So, going back to
Cryptids. I
right?
got you.
Yeah, you got me. So, going back to cryptids, and we call them cryptids now.
Right.
But back in the day, it was just folklore. Right?
Yeah.
Our ancestors believed this stuff. It was only until the advent of scientism and materialism that people started to reject this. And now we have this word of cryptid, which means just like unusual creature, right?
Yeah, unverified. Unusual creatures.
Unverified, which is some of them, like obviously some of them are just like silly and like just like whatever stories, but some of them have so much evidence and eyewitness accounts that people have been like put to death with less evidence. People
and
have been
so much history.
Exactly. And just because that there isn't physical material evidence to show it is like the proving that like, oh, no, it's not real. It's just egregious to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, one of your favorite cryptids,
yes,
is the Wendigo. And I know a lot of people love the Wendigo.
Yes, hands down. For many, many years, since the first time I had ever heard of this horrifying creature, I've developed a deep love for the Wendigo.
Okay, let's take a look here. Tell us about the Wendigo. I'm going to bring up some pictures of it.
Well, the myth of the Wendigo originated from the Algonquin natives. The story goes that there was a hunter that during a particularly harsh winter resorted to cannibalism, and this egregious act of cannibalism transformed him into this entity that has come to be known as the Wendigo, and filled him with this insatiable lust for human flesh. And he stalks the snowy, frigid lands in search of further humans to devour. There's all variation, depending on where you hear the story. There's variations on the myth. And there's no real particular description given, although it's often portrayed as a tall and pale humanoid creature, sometimes with deer features or antlers, emaciated. All stories describe it as being horribly emaciated and thin. Dave is scouring Google for images of the Wendigo, and amidst all these horrible, twisted illustrations is a singular picture of Biden.
You're just like this twisted, emaciated. I just see Biden. What a retard.
But I think one of the things I find most appealing about the Wendigo myth is the concept of a creature that is forever starving, a creature that when it devours another human being, it grows in size proportionately, so its hunger is never sated, and it hungers even more and needs more to fill its gullet the next time it feeds, which makes it grow even more. And it's an endless cycle of just starvation and lust for human meat.
He really got into that. he got all. You guys get. He's got all animated.
I'm fucking
over
sweaty.
The Wendigos make me sweaty. Yeah, these are. It's pretty freaky with the deer antlers and all that. Pretty spooky looking creature. You remember when we went camping on that Indian reservation?
Yes.
And we got ourselves all freaked out about the Wendigo.
Yeah, we did.
we got like two grown men freaked
That
out.
was like boys in the dark, in the woods, just like hearing random noises and just like psyching each other out way too hard.
To be fair, there was a weird vibe.
It was
there.
there was. I'm gonna come out and say I've never heard fucking sounds like that before or since in my life. It was weird.
Yeah.
And thus was the birth of Nathan S. Dogman.
Yeah. Story for another time. So anyway, another one of my favorites here is one that's actually, I would argue is very real. And this is the Albatwitch. The Albatwitch is kind of the Pennsylvania, not the Pennsylvania Bigfoot, but sort of the Pennsylvania Littlefoot. Albatwitch in Dutch, which is Pennsylvania Dutch, means like apple thief. Oh, here we go. Apple snitch. Here, it says here. Because they are sort of this I guess you could say like a orangutan type character, but more like a Bigfoot. They're more like a small humanoid, and they are seen a lot at Chickies Rock, which is in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Lancaster County, and they're found. Yep, there we go, along the banks of the Susquehanna River. So the Albatwitch it's a creature that gets seen not a lot, but gets seen a fair amount, right? They came from North Anvil, which is a town that's sort of close to the capital of Pennsylvania. It's in central Pennsylvania. It's in Lebanon County, which is directly next to Lancaster County. So we're sort of from this general area, and I've never seen an Albatwitch, but I've heard people talk about it.
I've never heard of an Albatwitch. Did you describe it as Littlefoot?
It's like Bigfoot, but smaller, and it swings in trees.
It just sounds like a monkey.
That's one of the running theories, is that it is some sort of.
It's just a monkey on the loose.
It's just like maybe there was like some monkeys on the loose, because there's the most well-known cluster of sightings was kind of in the same 20 years as between the 50s and it was like 1956 to 1972. So it very well could have been. Orangutans do live that long. Certain monkeys do live that long.
Yeah, this is the first I've ever heard of this. This is a local cryptid.
Yep.
Albatwitch. Very interesting. Very cool. Does it say when the last sighting was?
I do know that there was a sighting actually a few years ago. I read about it.
Let's go get this motherfucker.
Yeah, let's go find him. Yeah. What if we do find him?
We're gonna run his pockets.
Yeah. Fucking rob him. Give me your apples, motherfucker.
He's just got pockets filled with apples.
Yeah. Cough it up, motherfucker.
We'll be having all of those apples.
Little pussy ass Albatwitch, motherfucker. So anyway, yeah, this is like one of my favorite. I've never seen, but I have haunted a lot of the area that he is said to inhabit. And there's this picture here. Of course, it's a really terrible one, but when it comes to cryptids, I believe that they're real. I do. Go ahead.
So my question for you is, have you ever experienced anything in your own personal life that would be something you would consider cryptid related?
Yes. So we're actually going to get to that. And you know what? We were going to bring up the blue-eyed six tonight, but we're going to skip that. We're going to talk about that another time. We're going to go right over to, if you guys aren't signed up to this already, we have the obelisk here. This is the official Bizarcast Substack, and this is like the best Substack on Substack. It rules. We have so many great articles from the Pulp Archivist, from Arbogast, from myself, from others. Great stuff. So let's go to the archive here. And one of the things that you get when you sign up here is called Paranormal Transmissions. And Paranormal Transmissions. Hang on. typing with one hand here. Paranormal transmissions. And in paranormal transmissions, some of them are from, my personal stuff, but some of these are submissions. So if you have a real life account of the paranormal and you would like to write it up, put it in a doc format and email it over to the Bizarcast at gmail.com, and we'll put it up here. There's some really cool ones here. So anyway, the weird dog, this one was mine.
Okay.
This is my story. This happened. I wrote it all up, and I, kind of made it a little bit more prosy, right? I gave it a little bit more prose. The weird dog was effectively me and some friends went up to this place called Boxcar Rocks, which is a rock formation, in central PA.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah. So we used to go up there and go camping. You're not supposed to go camping, but we go camping.
Of course.
I shouldn't have said the location because I think in the article I didn't say it, because kids go up there and they still go up there to like party and hang out. And I don't want people to go like bust them and everything. You know what I mean? Because we had so much fun up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're not supposed to do it, but I think that young men should go do bad kid shit, right?
Of course they should. It's part of the youth.
Yeah. Instead of like sitting at home on your computer watching porno or anime or whatever, you should go out with your boys and drink and try to like get some pretty girls from the neighborhood and finger blast them. And that's what you should be trying to do as a young man, right? You shouldn't be like, go do some fucking bad kid shit. That's a problem with Zoomers, is they didn't grow up doing bad kid shit.
It builds character. Those are the years of your life that build character.
Yeah, those are the years of your life where you have to learn that there are things that you shouldn't fucking do. And
go out and raise hell.
Go out and be a retard.
Go finger blast some girls.
Yeah. So anyway, the weird dog. So anyway, here's the story. Me and my buddies were up. We got this fire going. There's like a big crew of us that were there this time. We're all hanging out. There's like friends of friends brought friends. There's probably like 25, 30 dudes and girls and all hanging out here. Big giant fire, just like chilling on top of the rocks. It all. But here's the thing up there. If you go up on too high, right? It's a climb to get up there.
Right.
So once it gets dark, you can't really go. You can't leave. You got to kind of stay there because it's very, very easy. Now, the cliff is only on one side, so you're not going to like fall off the cliff, but you could twist an ankle. It's not an easy, trek in the dark. It gets sketchy in the dark. So when it started getting dark, me and my buddy Andrew, rest in peace, went out exploring. Right? We not exploring. We went out looking for firewood. We went out getting in firewood. We did a little exploring too. Like, we went around, goofed off, and looked at some. So we're kind of like in the woods by ourselves. He's got a flashlight. I've got a lantern, and we're gathering firewood. And my buddy Andrew was one of those dudes that was like really stingy with his weed. You know what I mean? He was one of those dudes that like he would it wasn't like he wasn't like a mooch or anything like that. But if people were like sitting around smoking weed or whatever, he wouldn't pull his weed out.
Right.
He would.
If he was going to smoke with you, he'd pull you to the side.
Yep. So we're, so we were like walking or whatever. We gathered some wood. We're kind of like in this clearing and starting to get dark. And we're like, all right, we got enough. Let's go back. And he's like, all right, let's smoke a bowl real quick. So we sit down on this. We pop down on this log, and I put my it was like one of them propane Coleman lanterns, right?
Right.
I hang it up on this branch, and it kind of illuminates like this 15-foot clearing in front of us or whatever. We sit down. It's like, it's like mid-dusk. So you could still see, but, like beyond like 30, 40 feet, it gets a little like obscured.
Right.
So we're sitting there, and we're probably there 10 minutes, just like being funny and smoking weed and just chilling, right? And we hear this like the leaves, right? And we look up, and this creature walks out. It was the size of like a small deer or a large dog. It had really strange, long like limbs. It looked like halfway between a deer and a dog. It was really creepy looking. And it had this like face, but like the eyes were kind of in the front, right?
Right.
And it walks out like on all fours, and it turns and like turns its head, and it's like in the shine of my lantern, and it turns and it looks with these like black eyes and looks, and I felt like that was an intelligent fucking being.
That's fucking terrifying.
It was like
Oh,
it looked right, and I remember I was just like, my hair stood up. I have seen, growing up in PA, I've seen deer, herds. I've seen thousands of deer.
yeah.
I've seen thousands of wild dogs. I know what dogs and deer look like. I know what every creature that's that size that lives in PA looks like. I've never seen a creature that looked like this.
Now, did this thing walk into the light of your lantern?
It walked into the light of our lantern. It walks up. It like looks at us for like a second, like it's like it was sizing us up, and then it stood up on its hind legs, upright. This thing. Yeah, let me show. It was like on all fours, and then it stands up like this.
Fuck that.
For like a second. I'm not, no lie at all. It was like halfway between a deer and a dog. It looked kind of like emaciated or whatever. It stood up like a human fucking being. And then it went back down on its legs. It looked back forward, and it slowly walked into the bushes and disappeared. And we're like, run! And we get up, and I grab the lantern. We like drop half the wood, like everything. We just run full sprint back to the place, like nonstop. We were that freaked out by this thing. We run all the way back, and we get back, and we must have looked like mangy lunatics. Like,
yeah.
There's branches sticking out of my hair. Like, it was just like, we're sweaty. We're like fucking acting nervous. And everybody's there is just like drinking and smoking weed and chilling. And they're
completely oblivious.
Yeah. They're like, we must have like looked like maniacs. Like we got up and we're like, guys, like not making, they're like, yo, calm down. What the what happened? And I just blurted this out. I said, we saw a weird dog. And they just like paused for a second, and then everybody erupted into laughter, like just making fun. And then for the rest of the night, they made fun of us so hard. I'm a dog in pants, and like
this is like the plot of a horror movie right before everyone gets killed.
I know.
No one believes you.
Nobody believed it. They're like, dude, you just saw like a deer or something. You guys are just. They're like, They're like, what kind of weed are you smoking, bro?
Listen, I would have believed you, Dad.
Oh, I know you would. I was like, you know me.
Yeah.
If I like roll up and I'm freaked out like that,
shit went down.
Yeah. I don't like get, I'm not some big tough guy or nothing, but I don't get spooked unless there's something to get spooked about.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, I get spooked pretty easily by paranormal shit. That freaks me out. But if we're like in the woods or something and I'm running up spooked, and my friend Andrew, who was like believed nothing. He thought like he was hardcore materialist. He was like, no, that has to be a fucking scientific explanation. That's how he was. He believed nothing. He thought Bigfoot was bullshit. He thinks aliens are bullshit.
Completely logical.
Thought religion was bullshit. Thought everything was bullshit.
Right.
Complete materialist. He was freaked out. And the whole ride home, and we're riding home, he's like, that was just like a diseased deer or something, right? That was just a diseased deer.
More like he was trying to convince himself than you.
Yeah, and like I was convinced. I was like, yeah, it had to have been. I was like, what else would it have been? What did we see? What was that? That was freaky. But we couldn't get over why it stood up like that.
Yeah, deer don't fucking stand up like that.
And deer don't have eyes in the front of their heads.
No.
Right? It was really, really freaky.
Sounds like a genuine nightmare.
Yeah, yeah.
So that is your real life cryptid experience.
That was my real life cryptid experience.
Harrowing.
You got one too, right?
I do somewhat have one. Yes. I used to live out.
Don't say what towns.
No. I used to live in this apartment that was attached to a horse stables, and out behind the apartment was this vast field right at the foothills of the nearby mountain range here, right? And I used to spend my days out in the fields among the horses, hanging out with the horses. I used to go into the nearby forest and practice bushcraft skills and whatnot. And one day I'm coming out of the forest. It's nearing nightfall. Sun's nearing the horizon, and I'm just sort of spending a few minutes with the horses before I walk the rest of the way across the field back to my apartment. And I'm sitting on this log with my back to the tree line behind me, and the horses are around me doing their thing. And from it couldn't have been more than 20 yards behind me in the forest, I hear a very large snap, not like a twig, but like a branch, like a large sized branch snapping. And I noticed the horses are starting to get nervous. The horses in front of me, all of them at once, start showing visible anxiety. And so I stand up and I walk up to one of these horses, and I'm trying to like calm it while I'm like looking behind me at the forest. I'm not really seeing anything. But the anxiety among these horses like swells into like actual fear, and these horses start freaking out. They're like rearing up on their back legs and neighing and whinnying and like shaking their heads, and eventually these horses scatter away from the tree line. And by this point, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable myself. The sun is like slipping beneath the horizon. We're entering like post dusk twilight, and I begin like actually feeling fairly uncomfortable, and I start walking backwards with my eyes on the tree line back across the field towards the apartment.
What?
Yeah, because I didn't feel comfortable enough taking my eyes off the forest, because whatever freaked those horses out, I'm not trying to fuck with it. I get maybe 100 yards away or so, and this is the only time I saw it. I'm not like I saw Bigfoot kind of guy. I don't know what I saw. But crossing in the gap between one tree and the next tree, I see the silhouette of a large bipedal shape walk from one side behind another tree and behind this sheet metal barn where the tractors were stored. And I, like, from my distance, was able to gauge where its height was from a branch on one of the trees it walked by. The next day, I walked back out there to see where the height was, judging that branch. It was like 11 feet. It was fucking huge. It's fucking huge. I have no idea what it was. Still to this day, I have no idea.
Definitely not a bear. Bears don't
It was
that big.
fucking massive, whatever it was. And it moved gracefully. You know how like bears have proportionately stubby legs to the rest of their body because they're not supposed to walk bipedally. This thing moved with like a gait, like long-legged gait from one tree to the next, and then behind the sheet metal barn. It was the briefest glimpse. Never saw it again. No idea what it was. Scared the shit out of me.
Wow. Yeah, I just and for you guys out there, cryptid, like for example, here in Pennsylvania, the mountain lion is considered a cryptid.
Yeah, because they're not native.
No, and the PA wildlife, whatever, Fish and Game Commission says that there's no mountain lions. Dog, I've seen mountain lions in PA.
Yes.
I saw one when we were camping one time. I saw one when we were hiking one time.
And I've come across their tracks in the forest myself.
They exist.
Yeah.
Hunters catch them on their hunting cams all the time. They are in PA. They're very elusive, and you might see one or two in a lifetime. And
just because they're
here.
not native to here doesn't mean there aren't any here.
Why wouldn't they be here?
Yeah, exactly. It's perfect. It's a perfect environment for a large predatory cat. We have so much small wildlife. It would be perfect for them.
And these tons of big fat deer running around.
Yeah, they thrive here.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize. People think, especially folks that aren't from like the Northeast, Pennsylvania is the 12th biggest state. It's a big state.
It
It's
is,
like
yes.
6 hours from side to side,
Yes,
right?
it's massive.
It's a big state. And 90% of the population lives in like the same area.
Yeah.
You got Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, Philadelphia, and like kind of like the cities that are kind of close to that. The entire northern region of PA,
It's just forest.
the overwhelming majority of the entire state has never been touched by man.
Yeah, it's massive.
It is so dense and mountainous. It's not like the Rockies or anything. They're small mountains, right?
Yeah.
It's like the Appalachians.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess they're just like big ass hills and valleys and stuff. But it is so treacherous that if you wanted to get there, you have to hike on foot and climb and like for miles and miles and miles, or get dropped in by a fucking helicopter.
Yeah.
You know,
treacherous terrain.
Treacherous. And people haven't been out there. There's no cell service. It's like most of PA has never been touched by man. So like to think that there's not like certain types of wildlife is out there.
And you mentioning all that raw wild land up there in Appalachia, brings to mind, the Skinwalker, the cryptid that everyone's familiar with, which was immediately what came to my mind when you talked about your weird dog.
What, the Skinwalker?
Yeah.
You think I saw a Skinwalker?
I mean, I don't know. I don't fucking know what a Skinwalker looks like, but from descriptions and the things you see and pictures posted, sounds like Skinwalker.
I looked it up. Apparently, in some of the northern counties, like Juniata and Tioga County and stuff like that, they have a cryptid called the Dogman.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, it's a cryptid called the Dogman, and they swear by it. So here's the thing with cryptids, and this is why I think that they're real, and this is why I think that we are completely failing this idea. I kind of go with what our ancestors believed, that these were paranormal or even supernatural beings.
Right.
These aren't like beings of physical nature, right? When you just presuppose that this is something that has to exist on the food chain or is like something you see on fucking Animal Planet, these are creatures that are like, folkloric.
Yeah. They exist beyond the environment.
Yes, these are partially metaphysical beings.
Yeah.
Right? So that would explain why there's all this weird phenomenon that goes on with Bigfoot. And by the way, there's tons of Bigfoot sightings. And let's go through and look at some of the paranormal transmissions. And I'm not going to read the whole things, but maybe I'll read like a clip and then we'll chat about it. I'll just give the synopsis. So that's one I wrote. It was called The Weird Dog. That was about the weird dog. There's another one I wrote. It was called The Dream Witch. I have this weird thing where maybe we could do an episode talking about it. I have some places they call it the night hag syndrome.
Like sleep paralysis type shit.
Yeah. Where there's like
we should talk about that sometime.
Weird witch that comes in.
I'm familiar.
Yeah, I have that. It's weird. But let's go. Speaking of PA, Pocono's Wild Man. So yeah, this guy says he's from Northeast PA. We got like a bunch. I don't know if it's maybe because like a lot of people follow me because I'm very strongly, proudly a Pennsylvanian.
Right.
So PA guys follow me, or if this is maybe like one of our buddies that just didn't tell me or something. But this guy's from Northeast PA. So Irish and German immigrants, blah, blah, blah. Settled the Pocono Mountains. So what he's talking about is growing up, he heard stories of wild men, feral humans that live deep in the woods. There's several theories about who and what they are. One of the going theories is that they're descendants of Revolutionary War veterans that never reassimilated to normal life because of trauma. He doesn't believe that. He says it doesn't make sense because the Indians told stories about them too. Apparently, once upon a time, the Indians used to war with them. They had stories about cannibal white men that dragged children off in the night. So, he said one of his neighbors growing up supposedly had pictures of one. The story was they found it as a child and tried to raise it. The wild man was said to have never learned how to speak and couldn't understand more than basic commands like a dog. It would shit on the floor inside and bite people. I saw this guy saying he saw black and white pictures of this supposed wild man. He did look off, like he was retarded, like he was retarded or something. But it could have very easily been an ignorant explanation for a family member with mental illness. So that's true.
What if it's just a retard they were treated like a dog? Just put some more newspapers down.
Right on the internet, you'll see these missing 411 cases where people in the woods just vanish and they find their clothes but no body. Most of us up here know that these unfortunate folks were drug off by wild men. That's it, really. Let's go to what his description here. So I guess he went camping with his dad. He said, when I was a kid, about 7 or 8, me and my dad took a camping trip up in the mountains. When you're camping up there, you want to hoist your cooler up in the air with a rope, or bears will get into it.
Yeah,
it's true. I was sleeping in my little pup tent and heard some rustling. I looked out of the screen and saw what resembled a man very clearly from the light of the fire and a propane lantern. He was very, very lean with matted hair and beard. Could easily be mistaken for a homeless guy, except for his movements. His head darted about like a deer and would occasionally crouch to all fours like an ape. He was wearing what looked like furs. I watched as he investigated the knot around the tree. He sniffed it and tried to chew on it like an animal would. Then he untied it and slowly lowered the cooler to the ground. One thing inhuman about him was his reflective eyes. After a minute or so, he noticed me watching him through the tent screen. He turned in my direction and made an unsettling smile with his tongue sticking in and out of his mouth. And then he goes on, he says, he yelled for his dad, and his dad came running out with his gun, and the wild man took off, and he never saw it again. His dad said it was a bear, and being a little kid, he said that wasn't a bear, that was a monkey man.
That's unnerving.
Yeah. He said at sunrise they packed up and left early, but since then he's been fascinated with the stories of the wild men. It's told that they live deep in the mountains and live in tunnels and abandoned mines. So if you're up in the mountains, don't forget that you're not alone. Oof.
Fucking forests are full of retarded hobos.
retarded hobo monkeys.
Coming to steal your lunch.
What if they're just trying to like give out HJs or something?
Hand jobs?
Yeah. He's like sleeping.
Like that's their purpose in the woods is to find unsuspected campers and go and rub them off.
Yeah. Like you're just like sleeping in your tent, and then just like a calloused hand reaches through the zipper and just like starts giving you a
It's
stroke.
just a hand job.
And like, no, I'm gay now.
You gotta stop before I finish. This is like getting a visit from the tooth fairy, but it's a hand job. Exceptional.
So yeah, that was Pocono's Wild Man. Yeah, the Wild Men. I know what this guy's talking about. There's supposedly, I thought it was like just like Hills Have Eyes, homeless cannibals or something like that. But this guy's describing them as if they are like a sort of like missing link species kind of thing. Because if they're Revolutionary War like leftovers, that's not enough. That's not enough time for a genetic divergence.
No.
They would still be humans. That's like a few hundred years ago.
Yeah, this is old.
Yeah, this is an old species. Especially if it's true that the Indians used to war with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And, in all that uncharted territory, it's not that far-fetched to think that perhaps there could be a society of wild men living in secret.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
Easy. So, let's take another Man of the Woods. This was another PA one. So, this guy says, hope is... Mr. who sent this in, don't worry about your writing. I actually cleaned this up for him a little bit. We can't expect everybody to, be an excellent writer, editor, or whatever. So this guy's from PA. He tells this story about how he has this hunting cabin. It's in his family's whatever common PA thing. Your family's got a cabin in the woods. Great grandpa built it, and you guys have been hunting there ever since.
Absolutely.
So this guy tells a story that he goes up to this cabin, and his grandpa said, "Don't ever go up to the cabin by yourself. There's man of the woods up there," is what he tells him. That's not safe. Like this man. Apparently, his grandpa was pretty like red pilled on the man of the woods. You know what I mean? But this guy's dad was like, I don't know about that. Whatever. But you still shouldn't go up because if you get hurt, you can't call for nothing. Like, there's no ambulance up there. They'd have to send the helicopter to come lift you out.
Yeah.
Right. You just croak up there, nobody would know for months. So what he says here is, I believe he said that his dad was in the hospital. And it was hunting season. He wanted to go. Like his dad couldn't go. He's in the hospital. I don't know what he was getting surgery for, but he's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go. So he goes up by himself to the cabin. He up there at the cabin, they have like a shed with some quads in it, some four-wheelers. And he goes up there and he's hanging out for a few days. He's doing hunting. And he gets on his quad the first day and he goes down the trail to go out to his hunting stand, right? Apparently there was some sort of gate. Apparently like in the valley, they had a gate going from their property out into like kind of the state game lands or whatever. And they used to keep the gate closed because there was people that would zip up and down on dirt bikes, right? So he kept the gate closed. So he goes down there and he sees that the gate was completely just blasted off the hinges. And where there was a gate, there's a big pile of logs. So what he assumed was one of the neighbors might have accidentally ran through it, or an accident happened or something. And to fix the gate, they at least just put a barrier up until they could like whatever, right?
Yeah.
So he goes down and he said he went down hunting. He saw nothing. It was weirdly quiet. He goes up. He comes back down the next day. And as he's riding, like these like logs come out of nowhere. Like these big ass logs. One almost hits him, right? And it like bucks him off of his four-wheeler. And he crashes and rolls. And he gets up and he sees like these, I can't remember if it was one figure or two figures. It's been a while. It's been a little bit of a while since I read this. But his pappy said that there was let's see. When riding up back to the cabin, a log flew right in front of my quad, hit the ground and bounced to the side. I thought I was going to be in serious trouble for coming up here alone. Have an accident and nobody to call, just like Pappy said. I jerked the bars to avoid crashing into the tree. I wasn't going fast enough to flip, but it bucked me off and I landed in the leaves about 5 feet off. I quickly stood up, and the first thing I remember is smelling this rotten stench. Really musky, like 100 gym locker rooms. Then another smaller log landed a few feet from me. No way this was falling trees. So I looked up and saw clear as day about 15 yards up the bank was something strange. At first, I thought it was a bear, but it couldn't have been. It had shaggy brown hair and stood upright with long arms and a face almost like a gorilla. So this guy actually like saw it. If it's a true story.
Yeah.
He saw this this thing. He said, me and the thing had a stare down for about 10 seconds, and then I ran to the ATV to grab my rifle. But before I could get there, the thing ran off. It ran on two legs, but hunched like a caveman. I had never been so spooked in my life. So I hopped on the quad and ripped up to the cabin. I locked up the ATV in the shed and quickly gathered all of my shit. As I was walking out with the last of it, I smelled it again. This time I heard it. I saw it run through the brush up on the bank. I got my rifle and scoped it in. For a brief second, I saw a flash of its fur, but it dipped out of view before I could zero in. The thing wasn't some animal. It was smart. He said he hopped in his truck and took off down the trail, kept his pistol on his lap till he got out on the main road. He texted his wife to let her know he was coming home, but didn't tell anyone about the creature. Who was going to believe he saw a damn Bigfoot and tried to kill him? So, yeah, that's what he's talking about. About Bigfoot. He saw the Bigfoot.
Why do you think that we find cryptids so inherently unnerving?
Because they're things that we can't deal with. They're things that we don't, they have mystery about them.
I think it has to do with, and everything that we've gone through so far displays this, and you mentioned it yourself in your story, intelligence. I think it displaces us from our position in the food chain. It's something in direct conflict with where we stand.
I like that explanation. That would make perfect sense. That's it goes into we as modern humans are very much built upon this foundation of ego, that we are indeed top of the food chain. We are indeed like masters of nature.
Yes.
We have conquered. That was our ancestors that had to compete with nature. That was a long time ago, and they were backwards, and so we come with this presupposition of progress, I almost fell out of what was I talking about? Oh yeah, we come with this presupposition of progress, right? That what we have now, we are the masters, we are the strongest, et cetera, et cetera. So anything that kind of questions that bucks with this kind of like ego that we're born with as modern humans.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And to encounter something of intelligence comparable to that of a human that is not human in a place of isolation outside of your element, it's terrifying.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know what it's capable of, what its intentions are. It's unnerving.
Exactly. This is why modern people love creature features so much. This is why you can have a Jaws movie every single year until the end of time.
Yeah.
Because modern people will never get tired of getting scared of being hunted, of being back on the food chain.
Yeah, it's one of the most primal fears, isn't it?
That is the most primordial fear, is to be fucking eaten. And it's one we are no longer acquainted with.
I'm like thinking about it and it's giving me chills right now.
I think about it, it's getting me hard right now.
I'm chubbing up a bit.
Getting a little bricked up.
Eat me. Sorry. I got carried away.
Dude. Oh, dude.
Eat me, Dad.
Oh, dude.
Eat me and beat me.
Stop! Stop saying that! God.
I go down smooth.
No! Terrible. So anyway, let's get right back to let's get away from your what you just said. yeah. Say, yo, I was like, I got Shane's like, all right, bring me on, but I'm gonna say something really weird. Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of what my role on this podcast is.
It is.
That's why you brought me on.
It is why I brought you on. So let's go to oh man, we're running over an hour. Let's take a look at a couple more of these, and then we'll start to shut down shop. So what do you want to look at? You want to look at Lights in the Sky? That was like a UFO thing. My Name is Ned. That's actually one I wrote, because that's something that was one of my stories having to do with the paranormal. But I've actually had a fair amount of paranormal experiences in my life.
My Name is Ned as a title is catching under this paranormal category. Tell me about this.
So My Name is Ned. It's so when I was born, my parents moved their apartment to a bigger house. We lived in this house for roughly 4 years. So most of this account is told by my parents and older brother, blah, blah, blah. It's true. We lived in this house until I was about 4 years old. And it was haunted. So my mom used to say that I used to sit at the bottom of this.
No, go on.
I used to sit at the bottom of the steps and talk to somebody. And she asked me, who am I talking to? And I'd say, I'm talking to my friend. Right. So as like it went on living there, it like the paranormal stuff got worse. And both of my parents, my dad is like complete like materialist fucking skeptic, right?
Right.
He like, and he will tell you he used to go downstairs into his basement. His beers would be opened up, and like somebody drank them. He would be sitting downstairs in the basement, and there'd be feet stomping up and down the steps, doors slamming. My mom would make bed in the morning. It would be undone like an hour later. Nobody's home. Like this kind of stuff, right? Poltergeist type shit.
Yeah.
Well, they one day my dad or my mom, somebody was in the closet, like just like rooting around, right? And from like you know how those old closets are that are kind of tall. People used to like stuff back in there. A bunch of files and mail fell out, right? And it was all what was his name? I wrote it down to like ask my mom. Ned Snyder. Yep, good old PA guy.
Snyder.
PA Snyder, yeah. So Ned Snyder was this guy that lived there like 10 years before that. And he was like, he I describe him here. My mom told me about him. It turned out Ned lived there before and was a bit of a local favorite in the neighborhood. Regular old local who lived there with his fiance, a jolly blue-collar fellow who knew everyone and could be found frequenting the local bar where he'd get rowdy with the neighbors. So a generally nice guy that everyone liked. One night while Ned was at the bar, a would-be robber came in armed with a shotgun. The assailant pointed the shotgun at the barmaid. Ned Snyder grabbed the man's weapon and tried to wrestle it away from the robber. In the struggle, Ned was shot in the torso, killing him instantly. He sacrificed his life to protect his neighbors. So he got blown to pieces in this bar, like, on some hero shit.
Yeah.
And apparently his spirit was still in his house. So when my family, my mom or dad found these letters by this guy, Ned Snyder, they went and they looked it up in the newspaper. They asked around. They found out who Ned was. And so anyway, they would start calling him Ned. Like my dad said that he would be in the basement in the workshop and you heard up and down the steps. He'd be like, "Yo, Ned, knock it off. I'm working down here." And then he would stop.
That's fucking bizarre.
They started calling him Ned and like talking to him and stuff like that.
They
and
just addressed him.
And he would chill the fuck out doing his stuff.
That's wild.
Isn't that weird? So it gets weirder. One night, it was like the last year that we lived there. There was like a Halloween in this neighborhood was big. It was really wholesome. Kids everywhere, all this kind of stuff. Everybody decorated. And on the porch, my mom made a scarecrow. And on the porch, the scarecrow would sit there and he held a thing, take your candy or whatever. And one time there was this little boy that walked up and he was like talking to the scarecrow. And my mom says, she goes, "Are you talking to Mr. Scarecrow?" And she goes, "No, his name is Ned."
Oh my God.
For real.
Oh, that's fucking weird.
Is that weird?
That's so weird. When you started telling me this story, I know you saw me get excited for a second and pause.
Yeah.
That's because you reminded me of another thing that happened to me when I was younger.
Let's hear it.
So in my teen years, when I was about 16, 17 years old, I lived in an apartment building with my father. Now, this isn't like an apartment building in the suburbs. This was an apartment building, not to mention area names or anything like that, but it was a country area. This was a standalone apartment complex in the woods, essentially on this mountainside. And
sounds based.
It was awesome. All the neighbors knew each other. We were all friendly with each other. It was awesome. But the building itself, it wasn't, in the best condition. It was in somewhat disrepair, but it was functional. But the layout of this apartment building, you go in the front door and you're immediately met with a staircase that leads upwards, right? And there's two doors to two apartments on the right in front of you down there next to the stairs, right? Now the stairs lead upward to a landing. And to the right of the landing is a door that was my apartment. And to the right of the landing, or on the other side of the landing, was another door to my neighbor across the hall. That was all this landing led to. before immediately declining on the other side down another flight of steps to 2 more apartments at the bottom. That was the entire layout of this apartment complex. So there's this big archway of stairs on either side that led up to this brief landing with my apartment and one other apartment up top. Well, one night I'm in my apartment. It's about 2:45 in the morning. My dad is passed out, sleeping on the couch, been asleep for, I don't know, an hour.
Wait, how old are you at this point?
I'm like 16 or 17 years old.
Oh, okay,
right?
so you're older. Okay.
Yeah. Dad's sleeping on the couch. I'm in my room, falling asleep on my bed. I got my dog next to me, big old black lab coon dog. And I hear someone knocking on the front door. And this was a knocking like only a psychopath would do. It was constant in consistent intervals, just a steady knock without pause or interruption, and it just kept going. My dog starts going nuts. He's at the door. I get up. I'm like putting my shirt on to go answer the door. I walk out. My dad's rousing from sleeping on the couch, and I say, "Hold on, I'm coming." And the knock, still consistent, no pause or interruption as I speak, gets louder and begins growing in volume. I flip the locks all the way up until I turn the knob. This knock keeps going, escalating in volume. I throw the door open. No one's there. There's a 6-foot landing in front of me with stairs on either side that I can see down. Nothing. I see the door across the hall. There was no time for my neighbor to go back. If it was my neighbor fucking with me, there was no time. All the way up until I turned the knob and threw the door open, the knock continued. Absolutely nothing. I can't explain it to my day. Possibly the most supernatural thing that's ever happened to me. It's inexplainable.
Wow. That's crazy.
It had my dog going and woke me up and my dad up. It had me shook. It was weird.
That's like people like, that's why I don't believe these like ghost hunters. I think they're all fugazi. Because let me tell you, when you experience the paranormal, you run. You can't like it's literally this instinctual urge to panic.
Yeah, what are you going to do? You can't do anything in the face of that.
No. You can't do
It's so alien and so beyond anything within our purview. It's like what could we possibly hope to do against that?
There was, so after we lived, this is more paranormal stuff. Actually, when I did my Jyotish, when I did my the Hindu astrology, one of my main signs is the one that like experiences all the spooky stuff. So I'm like, I have tons of like paranormal encounters and stuff that I've just racked up over the years.
That's insane. I think those are the only two I've ever experienced firsthand.
Yeah, I've experienced a lot of paranormal weird shit. So, which one was I gonna say?
Can't help you out on this one.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I've had so many like so anyway, yeah, the house that we moved into when I was about 4 years old, we moved out of that house, right? And my family bought a house, which was kind of in the country or whatever. This house was haunted as fuck. Like not like Amityville horror, like to the extreme.
Yeah.
But it was really haunted.
Right.
Not only was that house haunted, the field behind the house was haunted. There was like haunting. It was a haunted area. And this house, and not only like it wasn't just me, everybody I knew, all my friends that spent any amount of time there,
all experienced
something. Always. Whether somebody would like see a face in the window, we're talking footsteps, we're talking doors slamming in people's faces, we're talking, it was freaky. Not all the time, but
phantasmal hand jobs.
One of the things when I was a kid, the way that the layout of this house was there was like, you had the living room, kitchen, whatever. There was a long hallway, and at the end were all the bedrooms.
Right.
Right. My bedroom was straight back. It was like straight back, and that was my bedroom in the back. And there was, so anyway, in this house was built It was built in like the late 1800s. It was built in like literally in like 1899 or something. And the people that lived there, were just regular people, but they were not very wealthy people.
Right.
They were people that fell in some hardship. Right. There was like kind of like it was built into a garage, but it wasn't big enough to be a garage. It had a garage door, but it had like this, big dip down it, and you couldn't really fit a car in there. It wasn't really built for a garage. It was just like it was originally a coal chute. It was originally a place for them to wheel coal down into.
Yeah.
So they would wheel coal down into there, and our furnace room was originally the coal room. And we didn't have a coal furnace anymore. It was a regular. My dad actually switched it out when we moved in. But this coal room was freaky. It was like you would go in there, and it just literally felt like there was pressure on you. It was this, and it was like you felt like you were gonna cry when you're in this room. It was like freaky. So the people that lived in this house were there was a family. There was a dad who was a coal miner, and he was a raging alcoholic, a very, very mean man. And the neighbors told us that he committed suicide. He killed himself.
Right.
So there was like and it got his condition got amplified because he had a little boy, a little son that was like 3 or 4 years old or something. And that little boy one time went down into the coal room and pulled the coal cart down on top of himself and smothered himself.
Christ.
So the guy went really nuts. Apparently his mother lived there, and she like died of cancer. So there's like a lot of death and like pain in this place. Right?
Yeah.
I can't prove it. But I know that mean man that was there that committed suicide, that I don't know if he was a mean man, but a guy that he was a troubled man.
Yeah.
His spirit was there. I would be sleeping in my room, and you would hear he would smash on my door in the middle of the night so loud that it would wake my mom up.
Yeah.
It's like, Dave, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I don't know what that was.
Isn't it strange how places like this become oppressive? Like they develop a spirit of their own. You know what I mean? They sort of become saturated with the events that have transpired there.
What's that? Say it again. Sorry, I was looking at the screen.
I said, isn't it strange how places like that can become like develop a spirit of their own? Like they become saturated in the events that have transpired there and just sort of reverberate them as time continues on.
Yeah. Nice. Statutory Grape, our boy.
My man.
Yeah, he said he saw a little girl in my basement. Statutory Grape in the chat, he's he's our kinsman. I don't know if he wants me to say who he is.
Right.
Starts with a P. Yeah.
Okay.
So he was in my house a lot. He was like one of the crew. We would hang out together we've been friends for years and years. He experienced it. He could vouch for this story that I'm about to tell. So when ends with a nickel. All right, it's Pickle. It's Pickle's here. My buddy Pickle.
My man Pickle.
So we are I had a party at my house one time. And like it was also like my house was kind of like the party house because my mom would like go on vacation with her that was soon going to be my stepdad years later. They're not married anymore. But anyway, she used to go off with him for like, long time, weeks.
Yeah.
And I would be left alone. And I was like, 19 years old. What am I going to do? Throw a fucking party.
Of course.
So I throw parties. So my house became known to be like kind of like the party house that was also fucking haunted. So, one time, so these stories would get tossed around a lot. At this point, my stepdad was moved in with us, but they went on vacation or left or went somewhere. My stepdad was like OCD and like real weird. So he used to take all of his stuff and he put it in the furnace room and he put a padlock on it. Like somebody's going to steal his fucking fishing reels. You know what I mean?
Insane.
He was a nut. But anyway, So the furnace room was locked from the outside, had a padlock on it. And one time we were all sitting there, a bunch of us, and somebody in the group was talking about how they saw something in the basement. And they're like, what, didn't like a little kid die in that room or something? And they're like, and then obviously the skeptics that were in the room were like, well, was there fucking somebody in the room? Blah, 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 blah. And like everybody's like laughing or goofing off or whatever. And then the conversation changes. And like literally like 2 minutes later, from the inside of the door, smashing on the door.
Oh my God.
The entire room full of like older teenagers, 20 somethings. Like,
from the room locked from the outside.
Yeah.
Oh.
Got up and ran. Ran. Like one dude, we had this buddy who was this heavy set guy. He screamed like a girl.
That ghost is flexing.
He's like, he's like, ah! I can't do it. He screamed like a girl about it. And nobody was mad, because, it was, everybody took off running.
Yeah.
It was like, this is how crazy it was. So another thing, speaking of my friend Andrew, he used to come because he used to live in Maryland and he used to come down and stay with me on the weekends and, go do his thing, go see his girlfriend or whatever he was doing. And at this point, Statutory Grape says the whole door moved. The padlock jumped and shook. Yeah. Jesus. It was like serious force from inside that door. Everybody heard it. It was freaky.
That's gnarly.
It was somebody was on the other side of this lock, and I didn't have the key. Nobody had the key. My stepdad had the key in some other state. Yeah. So anyway, another thing that would happen here. So at one point, like some of my buddies moved in with me, right? They moved into the house. They had nowhere to go. My buddy Andrew would come stay on the weekends. It was like the bro spot for guys that didn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
And, my mom and my stepdad were like, okay, you guys can do it, but you got to live in the basement. So on the other side of the basement, from that side, there was kind of like a room. It was kind of a weird room because it had like a fireplace and like a big mirror above it. Like it was like a living space at one point, right?
It's down in the basement.
Down in the basement.
All right.
So we had this like bro room in the basement. Our guitar set up, posters. We painted it all black so we could like get like party all night and sleep all day. Like all, what I mean? Yeah. So in this room, and then there was no like door there. So we hung up like a blanket or a flag or something. That was our door. And we had couches set up where we would sleep. There was, and this is something that you would hear upstairs too sometimes, is if you were sleeping upstairs, you would hear like these heavy footsteps down in the basement and like groaning and like bitching, somebody bitching under their breath, and they would stomp up and down the stairs like a frustrated guy all night long. And one night we were all passed out in my room. There's like a bunch of us. We were like hanging out, playing video games, playing guitar, and we crashed out there, right? All on our couches and everything. And I woke up because I heard it. I heard from like right outside the blanket. Yeah. And I saw the feet. And I reached over and I shook my buddy Andrew. And I reached over and I shook my buddy Brad. And I woke him up. I was like, hey, look. And then like I just heard, what the fuck? Because it was like there was a pair of boots outside of the blanket.
Holy fuck.
And you heard from outside the fucking thing. And it stood there and did that for like a whole minute and then stomped off.
Fuck that place.
And I jumped up, I turned the lights on, and we went out. I had a gun. We're going through the basement looking. Everything's locked, nothing. It was a fucking ghost.
That's insane.
It was scary. Yeah. It was scary.
Unreal.
You
have had way too many of these experiences.
I know. I have weirder ones still.
I prefer to deal with like tangible things, corporeal things.
Yeah, it's spooky stuff.
Wild.
Yeah. You don't have any more?
No, I'm tapped out. Like I said, that's the two stories I got. That's the weirdest shit that's ever happened to me.
Yeah.
You got like books of these things.
I should write a book.
You should fucking write a book.
I have enough that I could fill a small book. You want to hear another one?
Yeah, sure. Hit me with another.
Okay, so I used to work at this place. I'm not gonna say where, because you could just like look it up and everything and all this stuff. But I worked at this place. It was it's for a big company that's kind of in the area, and they run it's a theater mixed with an office building. It was originally a theater and had a hospital in it. Years and years ago during like World War II,
Right.
World War I, World War II had a hospital, but the hospital got moved, and that became an office building. And then the other half stayed a theater. It's a very old, beautiful theater. I was a third shift security guard in this place. Extremely haunted. Extremely haunted. Most of the security guards, they couldn't keep security guards in this place. They sent me here literally because I got in trouble. Me and this other guy that we were buddies, they caught us on the camera sneaking around looking for candy, the secret candy and snack stashes. Yeah, we got nailed on camera looking for snacks. And they acted like we were like,
they punished you for looking for secret candy?
Yeah, we walked into a room where the door was open and like it was like employee staff area. But because we weren't those employees, because it was for corporate and it wasn't for us.
You're stealing the Corpo's candy.
We were stealing the Corpo snacks. I literally I took a whatchamacallit bar and like a little bag of Cheez-Its because we were on this. So there was like this really nasty storm and the whole place got shut down that we were at, and we were the only people in this whole place, and we had to do a double shift. So I was hungry.
Yeah, naturally.
We were hungry, like, fuck, let's go find some snacks. I know these guys got snacks. And they were just sitting out. There was like a basket on this table in this conference room with snacks in it.
Saying, take me.
Yeah. And we're like, fuck it, here's a couple snacks. Let's have some snacks. We had some snacks, and we almost got fired over it. They had such a big deal. We had to write apology letters. It was...
They had you write apology letters?
Write apology letters, not to lose our jobs.
Fuck them.
I know. I wish I could just like dox the company. They're such pieces of shit. But anyway, so for punishment, they didn't fire me because, the one supervisor was like, he like really went up to bat for me. He's like, these guys, they had snacks that were sitting on a table in an open conference room in a break room. Like they're gonna get fired for eating snacks.
Yeah, someone came in with the fucking voice of reason.
Yeah, so they didn't fire us. So my punishment, he got sent to this boring ass like job where he sat in a shack for like hours on end, and I got sent to this haunted ass fucking theater that nobody at this place, they couldn't keep security guards here because they would all just run out screaming and quit.
Yeah. And
the only guy that could work there was two guys that would work there third shift. One of them was this like douchebag boomer that was like really weird. And then there was this other guy who was like a ghost hunter or whatever. And he would like make these recordings. I actually trained him. And the whole time training, he's like doing recordings and the thing. He eventually quit too. He quit before I did. And no reason. This is the thing. They would just like, anytime a guard would go running out of this place, they would never address that it's fucking haunted.
Yeah.
Everybody knew this place was fucking haunted. Except for like the guys that didn't work. The guys that didn't work, they'd be like, oh, you could go to the fucking haunted place. They would make fun of you and like all this stuff until you went and had to work there. And like you could be there for like maybe a couple months max before you go running out the fucking door, because that's how freaky it is. So anyway, I go to this place. It is really spooky at night. It's really spooky at night. And the first thing that I noticed that was going on here was, first of all, you would go on your guard tours like 4 times a shift or whatever, and then the rest of the time you just sit there like an asshole. So you would go on your guard shift, and you would go and you would walk through the sub basement, which was really spooky, and then you would come out and you would go through the old theater, right? One of the first things that happened was one of the others. There's like security guards from this other company that would come in and they would like go check the money for the theater, et cetera, et cetera. So this other guy, his name was Jimmy. They used to come in And like we would chat or whatever. He's kind of a nice guy, so me and him would run into each other a lot. But, hey, Jim, how you doing? Hey, Dave, what's up? You know what? And one time, and he was always doing goofy stuff, right? He was always being funny, or what. I always catch him like, one time I caught him playing PlayStation in the room. He's supposed to be doing something. He's playing PlayStation or whatever. So I always catch him doing weird stuff. So the one time, and like we could talk on the radio. He used a different radio station, so I would just switch to his station and talk to him.
Right.
So one time I walk in, and I go to the theater, and I see up on the catwalk, there's there's a light going back and forth, like somebody carrying a flashlight or whatever. The only other person that could possibly get in here that has clearance to walk into this building are my bosses, who would radio me first before they came in.
Yeah.
And they would never go up on this like old ass catwalk. You're not even allowed up there. Right. To get up there, you had to get a special ladder out from like under this like locked place, put it up there, climb up, and it's sketchy as fuck. It's a catwalk for theater that was built in like 1940,
right.
1930. Right. So I see this light up there, and I radio Jim, and I'm like, yo, Jim, what are you doing up there, bub? He's like, up where? I was like, up on the catwalk. He's like, and he said something. He's like, I can't say where he said he was, but apparently there was some sort of like scaffolding where he was. He's like, up there. And I realized he was talking about a completely different location. I was like, no, at the theater. He's like, bro, I haven't been to I'm not at the theater tonight.
That's fucked.
So there was lights up there. That was the first thing. Second, I go up to at the very this place. It was actually really, really cool. Like I wish like I could take people on tours here, right? Because it was a really cool old building. It had one of them really old elevators where you would
with the cage
and the accordion door,
right?
And then you would like pull this crank, and it would, and it was like real wobbly. It was like held by a rope or something. It was like pretty sketchy. Like if you like went like
precarious elevator.
Yeah, if you like shifted, the whole elevator would swing. It was like old. But you would take the elevator all the way up to the top where it was called the machine room. And the machine room was formerly like a dressing room for people in the theater. So you would go up into the machine room, and there's this big pipe that would line against it. It had this big giant metal door, and this metal door with this metal doorknob. And it was like old time doorknob. It wasn't like now. It was like you had to and you open it. There's no like the wind blowing this door.
Right.
So I would go in, you would like hit the station for your guard thing, and you would flip the lights off. Your whole job is just to make sure lights are off, right? So I'd turn the light off and I would close the door. Now here's the story for this room. In this room, there is this big giant pipe that runs along. The pipe doesn't work anymore, right? But it's an old water pipe that runs along. Like way back, there was a guy who didn't get a part in a play, and he fucking hung himself up there.
I saw that coming.
They paint that pipe every single year, and the place where he hung himself, where he tied his rope or his chain or whatever,
is worn through.
Oh, you can walk in and see it every single time. So I would go I didn't even know this story yet. So we're going for a long time, but it's okay. Fuck it. I'm having fun. So so I would go turn the lights off, and I would walk away or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Every time I would come back around to my guard for my next thing, I would see that the light was on and the door was open.
Yeah.
I thought, I don't know, maybe there's somebody in here. Maybe it's Jimmy, you know what I mean? Like it was, nobody's opening that.
Yeah.
Right. It's not
accidentally just swinging open.
Yeah. And the light switch was one of them old, like clanks. It wasn't like a normal switch. It was like it had like the little bar that came out.
You know what I'm talking about? I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So one time I was like, this is getting weird. I look on the CCTV, which is the surveillance, to see. I couldn't look at the door, but there's kind of an angle I could see the hallway. And I go down, I look, and it's like it's fine for like an hour or so. And then you can see, 1 second here. 1 second. Give me 1 second, boys. Sorry about that. I had to yell at my kids. So, what was I saying? So, anyway, I look at the CCTV. Like an hour into the footage, the door, you can't see the door. All you can kind of see is the hallway off to the top right, like angled in.
Yeah.
So you just see the hallway that it's facing. You would see a kind of like the light emitting out from the door as it opens by itself.
That's fucking freaky.
Nobody walked in or out. I had footage of this.
Of
You know what? I showed it to my supervisors, and they just laughed it off. They're like, "What the fuck, whatever." Like I'm like, "This is fucking evidence."
Yeah.
Right? So
how many people is it going to take before you fucking listen to someone?
because they don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't involve them.
It's because they need somebody there, so they have to downplay it, and they're not going to go in there.
Yeah.
Right. So one of my biggest trolls on this was one of my supervisors. His name was Jason. Right. He's a nice guy, but he's a ball buster. He's from New York. He's a ball buster. And he'd be like, yo, you gonna get scared of the ghosts up there, bro? You fucking getting spooked out by the ghost. Oh my God. And what he would do is on my radio, when he knew I was like on a walking tour, he would go like,
what a
and
dick.
do like weird. I'm like, dude, stop. It's freaking enough up here. So he would do that, and then you would hear him cackling and laughing and all this stuff. So this one time, I go up. The floor that everybody was freaked out about in the office building was the 4th floor.
Yeah.
Right? The 4th floor, I took the elevator up to the 4th floor. I start my guard thing. I'm walking out. I walk out, and I turn the corner, and I see. Now, nobody can get into this part of the building.
Yeah.
The only way somebody can get into this part of the building, even if they have clearance, is to buzz me.
Okay.
They can't get into the building. No way anybody else is in this building. I look over the cubicles. I see like a lurching figure. And the back of the head, it looked like it was all burnt.
No, that's when you get the fuck out. That was your night to leave.
It was like somebody that looked horribly burnt.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you got two options: you get the fuck out, or you approach.
I'm freaked out right now. It's telling you this story.
Yeah.
So I run. I run over. I start pounding on the elevator for it to come. I go down the fire escape. I run down the steps. I set off an alarm because it was the fire escape. You're not supposed to go down those steps.
Yeah.
I was just so scared. I fucking did it. And then I go down the fucking my phone's ringing off the hook. My supervisor's trying to get hold of me. I pick up the phone. He's like, "What's going on? Like a fucking fire escape go off. Did you set that off?" I was like, "Yeah." And I must have just been saying complete gibberish. I was so freaked out.
Yeah.
He's like, "Do I need?" He's like, because he thought there was a fire.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, all right, should I? He's like, I'm gonna call 911. We're gonna do the blah blah blah. I was like, no. There's no fire. I hit it. Turn it off. Turn the alarm off. He's like, okay. So what the fuck's going on? I was like, I can't. I gotta tell you what I just saw. This whole thing. He's like, oh, would you see a ghost? Blah 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 blah. Were you fucking scared? Blah blah blah. I was like, yeah, I saw a fucking ghost. He's like, oh well, here we go. Blah blah blah. He's like, what was it? A fucking friendly ghost?
Fucking jerk off.
Yeah, he's like a fucking jerk off, right? He's like, should I call the fucking Ghostbusters or all this kind of shit? And I was like, no, I saw him. He's like, yo, yeah, what did it look like? I was like, it looked like somebody that was very badly burnt. And he got real quiet for a second. He goes, 50 years ago, there was a horrible fire up there and a ton of people fucking died.
Jesus Christ.
On that floor. He's
that.
He's like, I'm coming over. So he gets in the truck and he comes over. Now he fucking believed me.
Yeah.
I was like, you want to go in and see? He's like, no, I'm not going in there. And
tables have turned.
Yeah, he was a Hispanic guy. So he's like, you know what? Fucking get in my truck. I'll take you over. We're gonna go back to the main spot, and then we gotta fill out a report or whatever. I'll get somebody else to come in and watch the play. So I get in. He's holding his rosary. That's how freaked out this guy was. He was praying on the way there.
I've had Goosebumps for 20 minutes.
It was fucking scary.
Oh, so bumpy.
So apparently what happened there was because that fourth floor, what happens is it connects to the theater. But if you at the end, you open the door and you go through and there's the old projector room.
Yeah.
Apparently back in back in the 40s,
Projector fire.
there was a projector fire, a
Yeah.
really bad one. And it caught fire when there's like a ton of people in here. And this was part of the hospital. This was like a part of the hospital that was for office stuff. So like a fuckload like office workers and nurses and everything that were there like overnight, or because back then I guess they had overnight nurses.
Yeah.
Fucking burned to death in their sleep. Doctors and nurses and workers and like tons of people died.
I would have just left.
I never went back after that.
Yeah. Fuck no.
My boss pulled me in the next day and he's like, so what, you're refusing? Not the next day, like 2 days. He's like, so what, you're refusing to go back to the theater? I was like, dude, the place is fucking haunted. And I said it just like, I was like, it's fucking haunted. He goes, pfft. like I'm a piece of shit.
You go down there then.
Yeah.
Just hang out for a few nights.
This is how like how normies are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You gotta think though, was there any part of you in that moment that considered like attempting to confront it?
No,
you were just out.
That thought, it is a panic.
It's counter instinctual.
Yeah. It's like if somebody said, hey, drive this drill gun through your eyeball.
Yeah, it's just spits in the face of self-preservation.
It is literally you go into such. I have been in some fight or flight situations.
Yeah.
I worked in Baltimore and like right across the street there was a shooting. Like I was I lived through a tornado and a flood. Like I've been through some pretty fight or flight situations. Nothing compares to when you experience the paranormal.
That story was the absolute worst.
I might have a worse one.
Worse than that one. How many fucking times has shit like this happened to you?
Probably over a dozen.
I don't know if I can hang out with you anymore.
I got ghosts following me. Yeah.
You're just collecting ghosts?
You ever watch Sopranos?
No.
Oh, there's this one scene. There's one part where Paulie, he's like concerned that there's like one of the ghosts of the guys he's whacked is like following him. So he goes to see this what are they called?
medium?
A medium, like a group. And he's like, wow, they're all here. And he's like, who's all here? He's like, Jimmy and Bobby and Tony. And he's like, who's that? And he goes, fucking quiz. And he throws his chair into the empty room at them. So that's probably me. These bunch of queers following me.
Just like an entourage of spirits.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think maybe it's like there's just something in my genetics that makes me predisposed. My mom has a lot of these experiences, and my mom has like these stories where she thinks that like malicious spirits are like grabbing her in her sleep and like all this kind of. My grandmother, both my grandmother and grandfather on my mom's side were very superstitious people. They had mirrors in the attic that they would put blankets over because they thought the demons would come through those mirrors.
I think that is a topic we should do an entire episode on, is superstitions.
That would be based.
Yeah.
That would be based.
Because there's a lot to delve into when it comes to superstitions and folklore.
Yeah. It's like my grandfather, my pop was really superstitious. He was a like old Italian Catholic man. He believed in fucking everything.
Yeah.
He thought there were sprites and spirits, and he had all these, he believed in all these angels and like all this kind of stuff. It all came together into this like syncretic belief. He like mentally lived in a very like magical supernatural world.
Yeah, and there's entire like practices and traditions that surround these superstitions. They've been passed down from generation to generation.
Yeah. He would put food out in offerings for like saints and spirits and
Yeah.
angels or just whatever. I don't even know what he was doing, but he used to put, I remember he used to put food out as offerings. He used to pray on his rosary and like all this kind of stuff. Fresh says he got rid of all the mirrors in his room.
Yeah, mirrors are fucking weird in general.
They are weird.
There's something inherently off-putting about them.
Yeah, I would agree. So I got one more, and then we'll wrap up. I'll tell you one more story.
All right, let me hear it.
So, this is probably outside of that one. This was probably the most vivid that I've ever seen, like a paranormal figure. One night, I come home drunk.
Right.
I wasn't like wasted. I wasn't like out of my mind. I was still like whatever. But I was out partying, hanging out with some girls, or doing, hanging out with my boys, and just chilling, right? So I come home, right? This is the house with the haunted basement, all that stuff. I walk down the steps, and on the right side was my room. I was here by myself this night.
Yeah.
On the left side was kind of like the workshop area, and that's where the furnished room was. And there was a fluorescent light, but the connection wasn't very good, so it would flicker a little bit. I walk down the steps, and I see out of the corner of my eye something. I turn to go to my room, and I turn around, standing there like 10 feet away from me, staring at me, an old woman holding a little boy's hand.
Like just his hand, or was there a little boy?
There was a little boy.
Oh, okay. You meant she was just holding the hand of a little boy.
They were looking at each other, and when I looked up at them, or turned to look at them, they turned and they looked up at me. They looked clear as day, except they were like kind of translucent, and I was like frozen for it felt like a long period of time.
But did it feel threatening?
Yeah, it always feels threatening.
It felt sinister. Like, because if you turn and you see like a spectral old woman and a little boy, neither of those things are inherently threatening to like a man. You know what I mean? Like I could throttle an old woman and a little child. I could throttle an old woman with a little child. But there's something about specters in general that we find
terrifying.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, it's the same reaction. Your mind goes blank. You go into a pure state of panic, and you flee as fast as you can. And that's what I did. I ran upstairs. I locked the door. I think my brother was there. I woke my brother up and told him.
Because it's not about the shape of what you're seeing. It's about the nature of what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Curious.
Yeah. I had a friend, I didn't see this, but he saw a face of an old woman in the window going out to the porch one time at that house. He was so upset he was crying.
We should go back to that house.
I would actually like to go back to that house.
I'll go with you.
Because, it sounds like haunted and spooky and everything, but it was actually like a really great place to grow up.
Yeah, I mean, most of these places are like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, let's go back. I mean, I'm sure it's someone else living there. I'm sure.
Yeah.
We'll fucking kick them out for the night.
Some dykes live there now.
We'll kick out the fucking lesbos, and then we'll move in for the night, and we'll have a spooky slumber party.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay.
And then we'll kill the dykes.
No, come on.
Death to dykes.
Pickle says that was terrifying. That was Andrew and another guy that saw it. The face in the window, was that Andrew? I can't remember. But there was like some seriously spooky shit that used to go on at that place. It was pretty. So anyway, going back to the closing topic, this kind of stuff, the paranormal, cryptids, spooky folklore, this stuff is pivotal to telling. This is probably why I think that, and I don't mean to toot my own horn, but why I create supernatural stuff in my stories that are spooky, even if it's not something, even if I'm not writing like a horror story, right? I feel that I do a pretty good job making monsters and stuff like this.
Yeah,
because I've experienced it. You know what I mean?
You have firsthand account.
I know. I understand that fear.
Yeah, you have an intimate understanding of that the response of the human condition experiencing something metaphysical.
Yeah. So this is really important to writing good pulp, is experience as a whole. I'm actually pretty against nerds. I think nerds don't belong. And I think that guys like us and like, people adjacent that are similar to our psychological profiles or our archetypes as personalities or whatever are the people that should be writing pulp. I don't think that like nerds should be writing this shit. People that have never experienced any. The best adventure stories, we look at Robert E. Howard. The best, like, his stories come from that because he went on adventures. He used to go ride horsebacks and get into fistfights at the bar, and he was like, he lived that lifestyle. He experienced it. He experienced it, and it transposed into his stories. And the guys that write the best stories, look at like Heinlein and like Edgar Rice Burroughs, and like these guys. These were very physical, like guys that like lived life. They weren't nerds sitting inside their house.
No, these were men.
These were men. And you could also say the same thing like guys like Lovecraft and Arthur Machen.
Yeah.
And although they didn't go out and do adventures experiencing stuff, they very much were acquainted with these feelings of fear and dread.
Yeah, they experienced that torment.
The psychological torment.
Yeah.
So they transposed
were like
that.
Well familiarized with like the cusp of madness.
Exactly. Yeah. Fresh says a lot of nerds have to cope in their stories too. They do. That's why they subvert heroes and strong guys and everything like that, because they're jealous.
Yeah.
It's all cope.
Yeah, I don't read Pulp Fiction to get into a fucking allegory. I read Pulp Fiction for Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. Hell yeah. It's true, though. All right, folks, we've been going for 2 hours.
Holy fuck.
So we're going to close it down. We got a couple of little videos to run at the end. But, yeah, I appreciate all you guys tuning in. Much love and many blessings. This is the Bizarcast, official podcast of the Bizarchives, weird tales of monsters, magic, and machines. Make sure you go over to thebizarchives.com and check out our books. We got lots of great books for sale. Guys, help us. Buy our books. Help us grow. We are getting ready to do some pretty big boy stuff. So we're getting into fulfillment. We're going to print our own books. We want to open our own print shop. We got like a lot of big plans, but we can't do it without the revenue. We can't do it without your guys' support. So help us in our crusade against the vampires that have stolen away our beloved literary traditions and their institutions, and help us wage war against them and win the culture war. So go over there and buy some books, man. You're going to love it. And I'm going to bully you into doing something that you like, and you are going to love our books. It's really, really great stuff, just as good as anything else you find on the market. So lots of great stuff over there. Bizarchives 1, 2, and 3, reprints, all kinds of good stuff. So we're going to run a couple videos. Follow us on Twitter and Telegram at the Bizarchives, and I'll see you guys next time. Hails and blessings.